Hey there team, welcome back to the channel where we ask the only question that truly matters: is this game worth your time and money? Let's find out today with SANABI. Where the heck did this game come from? SANABI. I didn't know anything about this. I'm going to front load and say that this game is brilliant. This might be one of the best games that I have played all year. Let's get the value assessment out of the way, which is the only real objective thing that we do in these reviews. For those that have missed it, the way I see it is if I give you $5 that I earned, then you better give me an hour of good solid gameplay. And this game absolutely does it in spades, and there's more beyond that as well. So it's worth the price tag, worth your time, worth your money. SANABI is going for $21.50 Australian, which by my math is somewhere in the region of 4 to 4.5 hours minimum. And at that point, still well and truly getting through the story, learning what's going on. There's a cool mystery thread to be pulled on. The gameplay loop only gets better and better. Suffice to say, I am smitten with this game. So before we go any further anyway, I will just make this very clear. I went into this game blind. It's coming out of publisher NeoWiz and the developer Wonder Potion. They shot me a key in really broken English. I believe they're a South Korean operation. Don't hate me if I got that slightly wrong. So I went in absolutely blind and I was delighted. Had no idea what I was getting into, and it is a brilliant game. So at my highest recommendation, if you trust me and this channel, maybe just stop, go buy this game and play it. Beyond that, let's go a bit deeper if you need a bit more convincing, or if you just can't help yourself and have to ruin everything for yourself. I know, I do it too. So what is this game? What is SANABI? Well, fundamentally, it's just a side platform game with a narrative, I suppose, if you wanted to just put it in a sentence. It doesn't overstretch with the narrative. It does it very, very solidly. It's actually really, really well done. It's like if The Last of Us was good. Oh, well, you know, I mean, that's a little bit spicy. Last of Us 1 was great. However, they've destroyed all goodwill by releasing it and its sequel, which they've just announced for another bloody remaster. They're just going to release the same thing over 10,000 times. They're probably going to remaster the TV series in a couple of years. But I digress. At its core, it's a father-daughter story. It's the same story as Last of Us, pretty much. I know I'm being derivative, but I also don't want to spoil. So yeah, a father with a past and a surrogate daughter, and it plays off that dynamic of her being bubbly, bouncing off all the walls, and him being sort of just grumpy and standoffish, and it builds on that. There's a reason why it worked so well in Last of Us 1. You can't really get it wrong as long as you just stick to the formula. This game does the same thing. I can see a few twists coming down the barrel. But yeah, it's Last of Us if it actually had good gameplay, because we're going to talk about this gameplay. Oh my god. You're this sort of retired general dude. I've got to come out of retirement for one more suicide mission, that sort of crap. And you've got this chain arm that you swing around, you probably can see in the B-roll, and it is the most satisfying mobility of any platformer I've played in recent times. It mixes in combat and more difficult platforming. You've got like little abilities that you unlock. One of the first ones you get is sort of a shift dash zip along that you can use to enhance your swing. You can run up and down certain walls, and you can grab onto roofs later on when you get a bit more abilities. Again, I don't want to spoil it. I just want to tell you that this game's really good and that you should play it. That's pretty much all I want to do. The broad strokes narrative is, you know, we touched on it. You are this guy coming out of retirement. It's very 80s action flick setup. You are the Chad soldier, but, you know, you're sort of retired. You get your briefing from this weird, they don't really go into it, but it's almost like a Asian version of Batman, but an incorporated. So there's a whole bunch of other dudes like you wearing your dinky hats and all that, and they kind of scoff at you and your chain arm weapon because it's bloody antique. Everyone else seems to have machine guns and that sort of stuff. But you're still a bit of a living legend. You come back in. So it does that it does that storytelling really well in that it gives you a glimpse that there's this world, there's this lore, but it doesn't take this bloody first year writer's degree crap that you see in the West all the time where it has to beat you over the fucking head with every little sliver of information. This game is quite happy for you to move through that opening thing, give you a hint of this really interesting world, and then move along. It's great. It treats the audience with respect. A bit of a rare commodity these days. So he's come out of retirement, he's going into this city that's gone dark. They don't know what's going on there. You got to rescue an operative, and then when you get in there, it's an entire sort of future tech city, kind of the beacon of advanced everything, and it's empty. And there's no signs of what happened. So it's actually a really interesting mystery that tows you along quite well. You team up with this Mari chick who, like I said, she's kind of a stand-in surrogate daughter. All the animations are very, very cute. And she's just absolutely cute overload. If I had to be critical, I would say that the game is a bit self-indulgent with its dialogue and its little scenes. Like the pace does slow down a bit. However, when it's this good, it's hard to be too critical. When I say self-indulgent, it's kind of a hallmark of some Asian games that you see. Specifically, I know this isn't a JRPG or anything like that, but perhaps you understand what I mean, where they have these hour-long cutscenes and they'll kind of just retread the same point in a conversation. I think it's a cultural thing where they just sort of take the extra time to really dwell on the point that they're trying to make. But in the scheme of things, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So yeah, you team up and then shenanigans ensue, the whole bouncing off each other. He doesn't, he's trying to keep her at arm's length because he has a past and she can't shut up because she's off her meds. But it's done charmingly. It's great. It put a smile on this cranky old prick's face. It'll make you happy too. Again, it's one of those things, and I don't want to keep bashing other reviewers, but it's the only reason I started reviewing is because I don't like the review space on YouTube or anywhere, to be honest. They take all the magic, they take all the mystery out by over-explaining things and pseudo-spoilering by telling you too much of the puzzle. But what I will say is the narrative seems to be all over things like foreshadowing, dropping Chekhovs and all that sort of crap in the way. You'll come across something, the girl will interact with it and go, oh, that's really cool, and it'll be like, fucking put that down, leave that alone, let's focus on the mission. Half an hour later, she'll save the day with whatever it was that they were telegraphing. I know this is all very broad, but my point is, this is narrative 101 that is kind of a lost art these days. It's kind of awesome to see it in full force here. The flow of the game is at its best when you just you are in a flow state. You're flying from screen to screen, flicking along. And then what it'll do, it'll arena you, it'll seal off the front and exit and put in a few waves of dudes. And then it evolves it makes some of them invulnerable, and this you kill like the resurrecting robot thing, and sometimes you gotta throw them in lasers, all that sort of crap. So that's when it's at its best, where it has this really solid flow state where you're just platforming and ziplining along, and it focuses more on you feeling cool. And it'll stop and it'll give you a limited arena, not one to bust your balls too much, but something appropriate to the level that you're at. However, because I am in that sort of mid to late game, it is starting to pile on more mechanics. Not a bad thing. It's actually really, really well done as far as that balance goes, but it is starting to push the skill ceiling as well. So this game is not worried about being a bitch, for lack of a better term. It's getting quite hard. And if I were to be critical, some of the arenas feel like you just have to take a leap and eat shit and die to the room puzzle and fall down a hole or something like that, just to know how you're supposed to solve the puzzle. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it is a little bit frustrating because the checkpoints start to become fewer and far between, and it's asking more skill. Now, this could just be cope, whatever, but it does frustrate me that you'll get through a particularly tricky part, and then you just have to jump off the screen at the next area and die, so you know not to fall there. So there's not a lot of these blind drops, but they're starting to crop up, and it does frustrate me a little bit when the game's been twisting my nips to just the right amount, just the amount that you like, It's a good feeling. soundtrack is brilliant. The art direction is brilliant. The animations are brilliant. They put so much life into it. They do this effect with the way that the dialogue, it has this personality when it types up and gets like punches onto the screen, it's like an exclamation mark in speech bubble form. More and more of this stuff keeps happening, and it just keeps supporting my thought that we should just bin voice acting in gaming. Just take all these voice actors, especially the Western ones, because they all think that their bloody Netflix special is the next thing. They all think that they're from Hollywood. Put them up into a nice big fucking ball and fire them into the sun out of a cannon. That's what we do with voice actors. This game is brilliant. It doesn't need it as covered, and just in case it's not clear, I only play the game for as long as the price tag asks. It's on the developer, or the publisher, I suppose, to ask the right amount of money for my time. So no, I haven't clocked it. I haven't seen the end, but it's not slowing down. The mystery's still there. There's foreshadowing. They're piling things on. And to be honest, whether I clock it or not and what I think of the ending is not relevant, though I get the feeling it's probably going to have a banger of an ending. The journey's what matters. And every second that I have given this game has been brilliant. And I know that it's going to be like that to the very end. So this is a little bit interesting, right? I mean, I have enjoyed most of the games that I've covered in this review experiment, but when you get something like this come along that's kind of brilliant in every way, I've got nothing to complain about, and I don't really want to talk specifics because I want people to experience it on their own, blind. This game's brilliant, and hopefully, make sure you let me know, because this is not something that will have definitely won't have mainstream, not appeal, but acknowledgement. But even in the indie space, this is something that I nearly missed as well. So I feel like a lot of people on the channel probably have no idea what this game is if you're, a regular on the channel, and that is a rare treat. No trailers, no nothing, no info. I was so blind and oblivious to this game, and my God, I am so glad I took the time to play it, because this is easily one of the best games of the year that I've had the pleasure of playing. Anyway, I'm gushing at this point. Go and get it yourself. Team, I might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.